panel for Magic the Gathering this year. Thank you. That's me, I'm the regional manager. That's Will, he's the brand manager. And returning as our special guest, Mr. Aaron Forsythe, Director of R&D. We were going to get him to do it, but he didn't want to dance. So last year when we were here, we had our friend Guruk. Where is Guruk? There he is. He was hanging out with his buddy Jace. Since then, Guruk's had a bit of a mean streak. And we don't know where Jace has gone.
He's unplayable.
Oh, that's cool. The expansion set for Jewels of the Planeswalkers comes out this Friday. It'll be available for download. For many of you, you've probably already been past the booth. If you haven't, we've got a fine activity going on. You can get the cycling pin. I can see quite a lot in the crowd already. Just participate in one of the activities, learn to play, intro dueling. You can try out duels, and in fact we're previewing the expansion set, so you can come and have a try of that. Also get your photo taken doing something cheesy with a mask on. Or if you're feeling brave, you can play against one of us. We'll happily not let you win.
I can attest to that.
Over to Aaron.
All right. So last time when I was here, I was giving a panel that was effectively the same as the one that was being given at San Diego Comic-Con the same weekend by Mark Rosewater. And I had about 85% of the same content with a few new cards thrown in. But this time, because the two events have been nicely spaced apart, you guys get an exclusive panel full of information that has not been given out anywhere else before. This is not being streamed live, but the internet sure wants to know about what I'm going to be talking about. So we have a hashtag here on the screen, MTG PAX OS. If you're so inclined to take pictures, talk about what we see on social media, please use this hashtag so everybody else can enjoy the fun as well. All right. So before I get into the stuff that you don't know about, a quick run through of the next product that's coming out, which is our latest Commander set. That comes out next week. I was on the design team for this set, and the cool new thing about it is that we have introduced planeswalkers as commanders. I just want to run through the 5 characters quickly, just give a little story about them. Initially, when we were on, the design team wanted to use a lot of our existing planeswalkers like Jace and Liliana as the planeswalkers in this product. With a couple new ones. There was definitely a desire for a goblin planeswalker that the fans have been asking for, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we also wanted to make an equipment-based planeswalker, which we hadn't done yet. So we were going to use a mix of old and brand new. The creative team, once they saw that we were interested in doing old legends from Magic's years gone by, said, well, we should try doing some planeswalkers from Magic's years gone by as well. And so we kind of retrofitted this white core planeswalker in a Hiri, into the existing story. If any of you are familiar with the story of Zendikar, 3 planeswalkers tracked the Eldrazi on Zendikar a long, long ago. It was Sorin, Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and a mysterious third one called the Lithomancer, which we never really got into who that was. So when we made this card, it just seemed like a natural fit, a Stoneforged mystic, as it were. The Lithomancer is a stone mage. So they fit together nicely. So here she is, the Lithomancer. She is the one that built all of the Hedrons that tracked the Eldrazi on Zendikar thousands of years ago. She is not the person pictured on the card Stoneforged mystic, although the core in general are very adept at making weapons. They are definitely from the same kind of family of mages. So here's this guy, Teferi. Initially we were going to use Jace in this spot, but Teferi is a character that we really like. Last seen in Time Spiral Block, the Time Mage. He gave up his spark to heal the Time Rifts that created the mending during the Planeswalker story. That kind of brought all Planeswalkers down to a more mortal level from the godlike status they had before. But because this product is not really part of any kind of current continuity, we can make cards of planeswalkers that no longer are planeswalkers, for instance, Teferi here. So he's got an awesome ability that lets you use planeswalker abilities on anyone's turn. This guy, Obnixilis. So many of you are familiar with him. He was in M15. He's in the Duels of the Planeswalkers game as well. And he was in Zendikar as a demon. He was kind of a throwaway character when we first created him in Zendikar. He was called Obnixilis the Fallen. He was a demon, he couldn't fly, and there was a bit of flavor text talking about how he lost his spark. And fans kept writing in and saying, tell us more about this guy, tell us more about this guy. So we decided to flesh him out more. In this incarnation, when he was a planeswalker, he was human. He was a warlord and a tyrant on his home plane. And once he figured out how to planeswalk, he decided he was going to try to take over more planes in the multiverse. To do that, he got his hands on the Chain Veil, the kind of nefarious artifact that Garrick and Liliana have been wrestling over, and it turned him into a demon. He went to Zendikar to try to throw that curse, and that was where he became trapped and lost his wings as well as his ability to planeswalk. So that's when we saw him on Zendikar, and then he got his wings back and could fly in M15. And we have not seen the last of Obnixilis, but this is kind of his pre-cursed version back when he was a human. So here's Dureki, the goblin. He is from the plane of Fiora, which we showed in the Conspiracy, sorry. Same commander, but no, Conspiracy, right. The home plane of Dak Faden, the greatest thief of the multiverse. People have been bombarding us with requests for a Goblin Planeswalker. And we also like Goblin Welder is a card a lot of us in the office enjoy playing with, so we tried to make an Planeswalker version of that card. And that's what he did with Dureki. So he was injured badly in the accident that caused him to learn how to planeswalk. It looked like he died, but actually he had transported himself to another plane, but had blown his own legs off in the process. So we created this kind of mechanical vehicle using his artifact magic that carries him around. And lastly, here's Freyalise. She's a character who's been around for a long, long time, since the Ice Age block. Originally, this card was designed to be Nissa. In fact, this first ability that puts a landward elf token in effect into play was on the design version of the Nissa in M15. But we wanted to kind of distance Nissa from being an only elf matters planeswalker. The first version of Nissa that came out back in Zendikar, people liked the character, but the card never really took off. So with our second version of Nissa, we wanted to distance her from only caring about playing an elf deck and make her into the one kind of the druidic land matters planeswalker that you have in M15. So we put this ability on Freyalise, who was a protector of the elves back on Dominaria. So you protected the Land Warden, the Fincorn elves, and later the Sky Shroud elves once the Plane of Wrath was overlaid on Dominaria. And she died in the events of Time Spiral, but again, because we can go back and this set isn't part of a modern continuity, make some cards of old characters that people really like. So that's the story of the Planeswalkers. The product, like I said, comes out next week, but we are having a showcase of it if you want to come see it being played, or maybe you want to be lucky enough to be able to play along with us later on today.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that don't know, at 2 o'clock this afternoon at the Magic booth, we'll be showcasing the 5 new Commander decks in action. So you've seen the cards, you know what they do, but how do they actually play out? Well, you get to see Aaron piloting his signature green Commander deck against 4 other participants in the showcase. 2 of which have been selected from lucky participants in the Magic tournaments on the PAX tabletop area. We'll have a special guest from IGN Asia, Max Valandre, the publishing director. And the last slot, which we have yet to fill, is going to be selected from right here in this panel.
Will is closely looking, monitoring all of you, picking his favorite person.
Indeed. Be nice when I'm up on stage later, alright? But also, I think if you ask some great questions when it comes time to the Q&A session, that's going to give a very good shot at getting that slot. So, a little hint.
Okay, so here's a product you don't know about yet. So once a year we do a dual deck that is kind of an intro to the newest block, and once a year we do one that's a battle between two planeswalkers that's trying to play off the story from the previous year. Now in Theros, Elspeth did not actually ever battle Kiora, so this is a bit more of a what-if scenario. They don't really like each other, so it's certainly possible that they could battle, but you can play that out. And these are some very powerful planeswalkers that I'm sure most of you have experienced playing against in Standard, and this is awesome new artwork that's going to go on. And kind of to commemorate this product, which comes out in February, we have a giveaway. What is a con without some cool tchotchkes after all? So, we'll be passing out the inflatable Elspeth swords.
So these swords will be passed out to you as you leave the panel in about an hour's time. So you're G'd up from all the exciting new stuff you've seen. So you're going to get these swords, you can run out and charge around the whole PAX area, dumping people.
Here's the art for Kiora. Yeah, it's fantastic art. And then I will there's going to be 4 other cards with new alternate art in the decks. I'll show you the art and leave it to you to speculate as to what those cards may be. So here's the first one. That is not a land card. It is a spell. Right, the third one here. Therese, you'll see she's a favorite artist for sure. And the last one here. I believe this one is a land card. Alright, so guess away and we'll see if you're right. Alright, so who has enjoyed Cons of Tarkir so far? So over the next few months we have a lot more story to tell set on the plane of Tarkir. And the next chapter, which will be coming out early in 2015, is a set called Fate Reforged. It's a small expansion, like most of our second sets, and it's set 1,000 years in the past from where Cons of Tarkir is set. Here is kind of what we call a pivotal moment in the storyline. So if you can take a peek right above the Fate Reforged logo, right past the E in Fate, there's a tiny figure down by that rock outcropping, holding his staff. That is Sarkhan. How he got, now going back in time is not something that planeswalkers can typically do. So how he got there is a story to be told on our website in our Uncharted Realms column. I believe on December 10th is where we're going to tell that story. But suffice to be said, he is back in time. He is there to try to change the outcome of this one moment, which was Nicol Bolas killing the spirit dragon Ugin. And it's on a magic card. You see the flavor text kind of speaks to that story point that Sarkhan had to go back in the past to change what happened and what made Tarkir into what it is today. The rules text, very awesome. I'm sure many of you have seen there's been some blue-black control deck showing up in Standard that will really benefit from this card. And you might wonder, why would we put destroy all dragon creatures when to date there have been 0 dragons in the block. Well, that's a clue. Here's another piece of art from the set. So, in the past, there are still the 5 clans, and they are still each ruled by khans. The clans are not fighting each other all the time as they are in the present, but they are constantly fending off the legion hordes of dragons that are terrorizing this world, an unending stream of predatory menaces. This is the leader of the Temur from 1,000 years ago. So each of the clans is kind of based on an Asian culture from Earth. Loosely, the architecture and some of the clothing and whatnot. So the Mardu, for instance, are based off the Mongol horde. The Jeskai are based off the Shaolin monks. The Abzan are based off the Ottoman Turks. The Sultai are based off of the Cambodian steamy jungle pleasure palaces. And that leaves the Temur are based off Siberia, where they have, even to today, kind of long-lasting shamanistic, rugged culture. So her name, Yasova, sounds very Russian. And she is, this set, because the clans are not as clearly defined as they are now, 1,000 years ago, the set does not contain actual 3-colored gold cards. So we wanted to show off the wedges in a way that still had you clear that she's a member of the Temur, but could still be played in a couple different decks. So her color identity, for you Commander fans out there, is Temur, blue, red, and green. But we're using these hybrid ability costs to allow you to play her and get full use out of her in either a red-green deck or a blue-green deck. And we're doing that a lot in the set. There's a few different ways in which we kind of show that the cards have a 3-color allegiance without making them actual 3-color gold cards. So the way you're going to draft this set is first 1 pack of Fate Reforged and then 2 packs of Khans. So you'll have a little more flexibility picking a card like Yasova early and not having to commit yourself to a 3-color deck to get this powerful effect. And you'll get your first taste of that at the pre-release. Over to Will.
Thank you, everyone. Pre-release. Who loves going to pre-release? Awesome, right? You get to see the new cards, you get to play with them, you can get like awesome cosplayers sometimes dressing up. I mean, look at these guys here. These guys all love pre-release. I've got to special mention because Soren here is just so awesome. Soren, can you stand up for us? And Thanks, Soren. Much appreciated. All right. So, the pre-release. So, as Adam mentioned, the story is all about Sark and Bolt traveling back in time to try and prevent the spirit dragon Hugin from being, killed off by bowlers. Now, at the Fate Reforged pre-release, you'll be following Sark in his footsteps to see if you're able to help him attempt to alter fate. Now, much like in Khans of Tarkir, you'll be able to select your clan with which to align with and fight for. And obviously, Sultai is the best clan.
Dove is legit.
That's right, my brother. Okay, so once you've picked your clan, you're going to jump into the actual pre-release activities themselves. So as you battle in the pre-release, you'll aim to complete 3 achievements on your pre-release activity bar. And if you're successful, you'll heal Hugin. And as part of healing Hugin, you'll gain a glimpse of the future. And that glimpse comes in the form of an Hugin's Fate booster. And this is a special booster that you'll get as a reward for completing your achievements at the pre-release events. Inside the booster, you get 2 alternative art cards. You get 1 token card and 1 land card. And the token card and the land card are regular art cards.
Well, the land actually is showing what the world looked like 1,000 years ago. So they are different basic lands than what you've seen before.
Thank you very much. I didn't even know this. What else now the pool of cards you get available is a pool of 40, so you get a few different cards, alternate art cards. Who wants to have a look at what the booster looks like? You don't hear someone say what's inside the booster?
Yeah.
Do it! Ready, set, did your cameras ready? Oh. No! Smart demonstrous! So what was it like 1,000 years ago? Oh. We got some recharges now. Okay, want another one?
Yeah.
Right, let's go. Driver's purse, the cards. Victory is certain, the price negotiable. That's what the sales guy said to me when I was buying my engagement ring. It works. And a new art. The bigger the hand, the higher the price. The sales guy also said that to me. Thank you for laughing. And another one. Ghost Fire Blade. What's it look like 1,000 years ago? Can you see the difference? 1,000 years ago, everybody was left-handed. Oh, there's a dragon there as well. Okay. So that is Fate Reforged, and that's what you guys get to look forward to in early January. It's going to be summer, everyone's on uni break and school break. Make sure you guys pop into your local WPM store and have a blast.
So the 40 cards that you can get as a part of this Ugin's Fate booster, a lot of them are from Concept Art here. There are some as well from Fate Reforged with different art than what appears in the set. And there's even a mythic rare that could show up in there as well. So a whole variety of different things you could get. So get to the previews and see what the future holds. So before we get to the Q&A, what does the future hold? Well, I mean, I believe all signs are very clearly pointing to what the future holds. So the set after Fate Reforged, if you haven't guessed, is Dragons. It is a large set. We will be returning to the present after Sarkon has done his duty in the past to try to save Ugin and see exactly what changing the past does. It's not always what you hope it does. All right, so that's all the goodies. We're going to move on to a Q&A session. So we have about 15 or 20 minutes for that. So if you guys have questions, there's a mic in the center, you can line up. As you line up though, I do want to say thank you to Will and Dale and their team for putting together this. Activities that they have going on here at PAX for Magic. It is so heartwarming to me to see just how many people are here playing, learning to play, playing in events, coming by and skull singing against me, coming to this panel. This is just tremendous. Australia is an awesome, awesome Magic playing country, and I love coming here and seeing it.
Here we are.
Let's have some
Here we
questions.
are.
Cameo's coming out.
No problem.
Are we gonna get Cameo back anytime soon?
Cameo is certainly on the list of people that we want to be including in sets going forward. She's still alive. She's got some cool powers that we want to make cards for, and I'm sure everyone doesn't want to see Jace every single time we make a blue planeswalker.
Hi guys, I've only been playing Magic for a year and I love the mythology that you guys have put into the stories. I'm a massive fan of Nicobola, so
What's your name?
Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Chris, so I'm so psyched to see Dragons coming back into it. I like the idea of it going back in the past, but I'm really interested to know, with the change going into the future, will we see Nicobolas again?
Will we see Nicol Bolas again? Absolutely. Nicol Bolas is one of the greatest threats to the multiverse,
Oh, yeah.
and we're not done with him. There's still a lot of story to be told, and there's probably... yes, we will absolutely be seeing Nicol Bolas again.
Awesome, thank you.
These are tough questions to answer.
Just say it to the next set.
Say it in the next set, that'll be awesome. Thank you.
He's in the next set. That would be awesome.
Straight to the end.
Easy questions, you realise that.
This is a bit of an oddball question, but I've recently homebrewed a Magic the Gathering role-playing game.
Okay.
I've been playing with my friends. Has that ever been on the radar for Wizards of the Coast to release a role-playing game featuring Magic the Gathering storylines?
I know that one was being built many, many years ago, maybe before I even came to the company. I've seen some binders full of the materials they're using to put that together. It comes up now and again. We have a role-playing game that we all know and enjoy, Dungeons and Dragons, which is still doing fantastically well, and it's like twice as old as Magic, which is hard to believe. But we've not discussed crossing the streams, as it were, recently. We are looking to branch out the kind of games that we offer with Magic. You may have heard there's a board game in the works from Hasbro. We hope that goes well, and that probably is going to open the door for us to try all sorts of ways to get our characters and stories out there in gameplay that is not traditional trading cards. So we'll see.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for bringing new commanders in. I'm just a big commander player, so it's great for me. Speaking of commander though, what are your thoughts on the future of making 4-color commanders? Because that's something that hasn't been explored in the past. Yes.
Right, that's kind of like the last box that has never been checked as far as what kind of deck you can build for Commander.
Yeah.
Every time we sit down and do a design team for a new Commander project, that's the first thing that someone brings up. Why don't we do 4-color Commanders? We're going to do it someday. We're going to cross that bridge at some point. The thing we struggle with though is there's not a lot to differentiate one set of 4 colors from another set of 4 colors. Like with 2 colors, you really get differentiation between the different 2-color combinations. With 3 colors, you get a decent amount of differentiation between the 3 colors. But everything but blue is not a whole lot different than everything but black. So we have to crack that nut, find a good way to deliver that content in a way that they feel unique and separate enough that they're not just all decks are just this hodgepodge of the best spells in Magic, but there's a good theme to it. In the next couple of years, I'm sure that's the way we're going to go.
Okay, good to hear.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hello, Mark.
I really enjoy the cooperative styles of games like Arch Enemy and Two-Headed Giant and stuff. I was wondering if there's any plans for like a 2 versus 1 or 2 versus 3 format in the future?
We haven't discussed those kind of combinations of 2 on 1 versus 3. We did get a lot of good feedback on the stuff we did for Game Day for the Theorist block, which was kind of 1 or more versus 0 effectively, face the Hydra and whatnot, kind of what we call PvE, where there's no human opponent. And we are going to continue to support Two-Headed Giant. Arch Enemy as a product did not blow the doors off to the degree that something like Conspiracy has. So that one's not on the calendar for any time in the foreseeable future, but we'll have to talk about whether or not there's something interesting. We do like when people talk to each other like Magic. Too much of Magic, in my opinion, is silent
staring and giving nothing away. When you get into these playing with teammates formats, it is super fun to be able to have table talk and get into it a little bit more. So we want to promote that style of play for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as the product, that's something we'll have to put some thought into.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ash. I just would want to talk about something I think Mark Rosewater mentioned. He said that when you guys were going forward releasing land cycles, you released them as a full set. And I think this was before M15, and then M15 half the Panelists came out. And now in Khans half the fetch lands come out.
Yep.
Is there any chance that you guys will release the other half in the rest of Khans as well?
Well, there's chances for everything.
Is it
I mean, you're not going to get me to tell you yes or no if anything's in it. I've done it, but I haven't showed you in the slideshow. But,
what about the policy itself? Is that
yeah,
something?
that's not a policy. And obviously, Mark says things. I have a over 40-person team, many of which make a lot of decisions that do not involve Mark. So the Peatlands were a good example. There's not the other 5. They're nowhere to be found. So the fetch lands may or may not fall into that category as well. We want to make sure that there are equal numbers of lands for each color combination. So you have the Windswept Heath cycle for allied, and you have the Caves of Koilos Painland cycle for enemy. And make sure there's the same number of lands, even if they're of different cycles or different quality, to make sure that the building gets to all the color combinations as possible. So that's what I think Mark meant to say. So take that as well. So you'll see the future when it comes.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Hi, I'm actually one of the moderators of the Magic the Gathering Facebook page, so I actually asked the community to see if they had any questions to put up to you. First off, one thing they all want to say was that they love what you guys are listening to do for the game,
Great.
and I think that's something that can be shared with everyone that's presently here. One question was, put out was, now that there's been the talk of getting rid of the core set, what will you guys be doing for newer players to bring them in? Because obviously the core set was a good way to bring new players in, it was a simpler way to bring them in, rules, etc. Now that that's going away, what are you guys going to do for them?
Right, so on paper it seemed like it should have been an awesome way to get new players into the game. But the truth is that we are adding new players all the time, every month of the year. That anytime a new set comes out, no matter what it was. I was just talking to a guy whose first play experience was Dragon's Maze, and what a nightmare that was for him. So, Duels of the Planeswalkers has and does and will continue to be our best way from a product standpoint to make something that people are going to be able to learn the game from. It's been great for us, and we're going to keep doing that.
I'd chime in on that as well. I mean, the fact that you're a moderator of Facebook group and you manage a community, that is also one of the best ways to bring new players in. And that's something that we as a company can't really do. And we love that you guys, there's so many communities out there that kind of facilitate these new players. I mean, to be honest, you guys are our best ambassadors for the game. So thank you. We are rejiggering the rest of our product lineup apart from the booster releases. So the things like intro packs, deck builders, toolkits, things like that, they're all getting a bit of a tweak, fat packs, to make sure that they are better on ramps for new players, so that we have stuff like that available all year round, and not just hope that you start in the summer when we have a simpler set available. So duels into one of those kind of introductory products, and then hopefully a friendly store environment, which I cannot stress enough, is the more important ingredient to getting someone to transition into an actual Magic player than any insert we could write, any grizzly bear we could put in an intro pack. Making sure that the people that you encounter as you're learning to play the game are helpful and friendly is going to be the best thing for getting more and more Magic players over time.
Chris, first of all, thank you for coming here. It's really great to see you guys here. So my question is, do you ever introduce a mechanic you really regret introducing to the game, and why?
Yeah. There's probably a few. I mean, all things in moderation, I think, are fine. I think any mechanic can go from bad to kind of cute and niche to oppressive, just depending on what mana cost we put on the cards that have them. I think Cascade for me is my biggest regret, because in my head it was so much more fun than how it actually turned out. It was supposed to have this kind of random who knows what you're going to get feel to it as you flipped over cards on top of your deck, but then the way the decks ended up being built, that you would cast Bloodbraid Elf, and there's only about 2 or 3 different things that you were going to get when you actually started flipping the cards, and all of them were pretty disgusting and gross and not that fun. So it was not this kind of wacky, who knows, it's more like, here's a 3/2 haste and discard 2 cards and take 3 damage every single time. And people got tired of that real fast, so that did not match the kind of design intent in my head.
Just a really quick one. Will I ever see dinosaurs in Magic?
Dinosaurs, that is really contentious. If you do, I imagine it would be part of some larger world. I cannot imagine a world full of dinosaurs as a set theme, because dinosaurs don't do anything. It's like 7/6 vanilla, 9/10 vanilla. So they don't cast really interesting spells. What's that? Yeah, we could do somebody riding a dinosaur. There's been a little bit of that. Dinosaur wizards. Allosaurus Rider, I think, was kind of that. That's just a way to make an elf a 9/9. I mean, we talk about things people ask for. Most things people ask for, we're like, okay, sure, we could probably do that. Okay, sure, we can do that. And when the creative team hears people are asking for dinosaurs, they go, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I have to ask this. Are we ever going to see Felgers again, or are they extinct?
I do not think Feldergriff is going to be showing up.
And also, my final point is, did you purposely design the Teemo logo to look like a penguin?
No. There was a guy at work that, as soon as we finalized them and sent them off, had his desktop of his computer that with a little eyeball drawn on it that looked like a penguin. Our director was slapping his forehead. Why didn't you point this out earlier?
How you doing?
Great.
Questions about 3 cards, but specifically one that you just released in Cards, which has made very little effect on Standard and Limited, but has absolutely, in quotes, destroyed Eternal formats, and that's Treasure Cruise. What happened there? Was that a card intended for the Eternal formats, or was it just kind of you guys trying to shake it up a bit, or kind of what happened there?
All right, I'm going to emergency ban questions about Treasure Cruise. I've said this before. People either don't hear it or don't believe it, but we don't test older formats. We just don't have the time or manpower for the hundreds of cards we're making to see what they're going to do. Was it discussed as something that probably will get played? Absolutely. The card is fine in Standard. In fact, it's probably not even good enough to be a serious play in Standard. It's interesting and limited. But we have the banned and restricted lists to clean up things that get slipped through the cracks in older formats. That said, I don't know what's going to happen with that card, or Dig Through Time, or just Sky Ascendancy, or anything like that, until we get to that point in the process, which is going to be right before Fate Reforged comes out, when we'll have enough tournament data. Not this kind of sky is falling, oh my god, a new deck has shown up, you better ban something. New cards come out and they make new decks, so we hope that's what happens. And then people will have to respond and see if they can beat those decks, or if the environment can handle those decks. If they can't, if too many people are playing the card, if it's putting too unhealthy of pressure and pushing things out, making the format too homogeneous, we'll absolutely take action. That said, the discussions we've had internally about it are, someone write down treasure cruise on the list of things we want to talk about when it comes time to actually talk about it, which is going to be a couple of months from now.
You had 2 more cards.
Oh, he's already covered them.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Hi.
I love the world building that you guys do. So my question is about the world building process.
Sure.
Tarkia is a bottom-up world, not top-down. So Tarkia isn't to Asian mythology as Theros is to Greek mythology. Yet despite that, Tarkia has some really, really resonant cards, right? Like the Mardu captured the whole Mongol raiding thing, pillaging thing so well. And the Jeskai have a lot of really, really resonant martial arts tropes, like deflecting palm or flying crane technique.
Right.
So my question is, when you guys have really resonant cards like that, do you guys, like, how do you guys choose whether to use it in Tarkia or not? Do you guys go, hey, let's hold back on this card because we're going to need it for when we do our top-down Asian mythology martial arts world? Or do you guys go, hey, let's use it in Tarkia, we'll worry about it when we get there?
So those cards were made once we decided that we were doing that kind of Asian-themed world. So it's a very iterative process. Sometimes we're starting with, you know, Innistrad and Theros for both. Let's start from this concept, this vibe, this feel, this setting. Cons, we actually started from, let's make an interesting draft environment where you're going to draft the middle set with both the first large set and the third large set. And then that does not inform very much at all about what the actual cards are, but it started us down this, well, what's a mechanic that we can use across 3 sets and it's going to change over time, and then settle on morph, and then we talked about, we were looking at what else we were going to flesh the set out, and wedge set was something that was being asked for constantly on social media and on Mark Rosewater's Tumblr. And then once we got to there, the creative team had a bunch of world ideas that we went through, and they settled on this kind of melange of different Asian cultures. And then from there, we actually started making cards. So once we got to, it's totally back and forth, and I love the way it works. Tons of creative people figuring out how to solve problems and make awesome cards, and I'm glad you picked up on it.
Hello. Is it possible to see a planeswalker from Lorwyn, or is that style of world just too goofy to see in other settings, like Tamio is in Innistrad?
Right, Tamio is from Kamigawa, and she showed up in Innistrad. I believe it is possible. Lorwyn is not a taboo subject by any means. There's a couple of cards in Commander that are kind of set in Lorwyn. So we're certainly willing to acknowledge its existence and use stuff from it where appropriate. Obviously, there are no humans on Lorwyn, so it would have to be one of the eight tribes. It seems totally on the table for us to one day create a character that's a planeswalker from that world. Sure.
Hey, so I absolutely love planeswalkers, and I love the lore behind them.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what would be your favorite planeswalker just based on the lore, not necessarily the cards that came from it?
Oh, that's a tough one.
At least it won't die.
That's no guarantee. Based on their lore, I think that's tough. A lot of the stories I know them and we haven't told them very well yet, so I have to watch what I answer here.
It's like you're asking which one of his children is his favorite.
Oh my God.
I think I'm going to say Fencer. I love when we can tie the kind of older Magic stories into the modern era of Planeswalkers, and the fact that Fencer was effectively a martyr and died. You know, a very tragic character, and I liked his abilities as well, both his legend and his Planeswalker. So that's my answer for now. And then a year from now, or even later, when we finally get around to digging further into some of our more established character backstory, I'll probably have a different answer for you.
Thank you.
As, I just wanted to start off by saying congratulations and thank you for the Commander 14 set. It looks amazing, and every list I've so far read has at least one card that makes me go, wow, that's awesome.
Great.
I wanted to know, sort of on the back of the 4-color question, what other ideas were you looking at for the Commander sets now that we've done wedges, shards, and monocolors? What other things things could we see?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. We're going to keep making these things as long as people are interested in them. So we've got a queue of ideas, whether it's just different color combinations or obviously we did the commanders that affect the game while they're in the command zone. I thought that was a pretty neat innovation a year ago. You know, we did planeswalkers. So we're trying to come up with neat little ways to tweak the format a little bit and show off some of the design space available to it. There's some cool ones in the queue, but I gotta keep running my half for now.
Thank you.
My question is, with the upcoming Magic movie, do you guys anticipate an expansion or diversification or change in your target market? And if so, do you have any plans or preparation in place to adjust your communications or targeting of those markets?
The movie is still a bit of a dream. There's going to be a lot of things that have to go right between now and when I'm in line with my ticket to go watch it. But knowing that there's whatever percent chance you want to give it, just like there's whatever percent chance of any Hollywood project getting actually greenlit and get a director and a cast and crew and all that stuff. But we've had a lot of discussions, but not any real reason to start formalizing that yet. We've been looking into a lot of what's happened with other properties, such as when the X-Men movie first came out from Marvel Comics. We hear a lot about how the movie was awesome and kind of brought X-Men to a new audience, but it didn't do much for sales of the comic book. I'm trying to use that as a bit of a cautionary tale. We're Transformers, even from Hasbro. Huge spike in stuff that it's doing for that brand, but was it sustainable or not? That, we're looking at what other companies have done, and
Please don't change your product.
no, like
change your communication.
We don't want to turn our backs on our existing audience. That's why we're here. That's why the PAX is for gamers, and that's who the product is ultimately for. If we can give ourselves a better image or slightly broader exposure and make it seem like something that, hey, there's no reason why you and all your friends shouldn't be trying out this game. That's what we're hoping to get out of it. Not like, let's make the game more for 50-year-old grandma. No.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hi. Being dressed as Felder, the guy back there, so stole my question.
I'm sorry.
So, can you tell me a mechanic that you struggled with to fit to the lore, or more that you struggled to fit to a mechanic?
That's a good question. So there are definitely mechanics, such as kicker, which we saw at Return Noir a lot, where the creative team just says, there's nothing here. Like, this is not a creative element. It's just a gameplay element. We're not going to try to say, and then the kicker mages arrived. Stuff like cycling. It's such an abstract game concept that it's hard to describe in a story term. So often it is find the ones that really resonate, write that into the story, ignore the rest of them. And that happens a decent amount. I think we're happier though when we can do things like Morbid in Innistrad. Even Scry was brought back in Theros because it fit the kind of oracles and peering into the future that was going on in that world. So we're very conscious of it. And instead of trying to make a bad fit, oftentimes we'll just not try to make it fit at all and just don't even talk about it in those terms.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hi. Just a card that's been been discussed in the past by Mark Rosewater has been Barry's Land, the concept of the colorless basic land. But previously there was issues with it in regards to the rules. Would there be any chance of a possibility of it being printed for a colorless commander set or colorless commander decks and other?
So you're asking about the existence of a colorless basic land?
Yes.
Yeah. We've had some interesting discussions about where the right place to deploy that is. We know that people are asking for it. The colorless commander decks are a thing that people like to build. And we just printed a card called Wave of Vitriol that destroys every permanent they ever play, basically. And all they need is a basic land type to not have that ruin their day. So, yes, I think we've got a rules solution. Just based on some discussions we've had recently now, figuring out where to put that. One day, if we do a colorless commander deck, I'm sure it'll go in there, and if we can get it in somewhere else as well. I mean, it's definitely another thing. When people ask for something enough, we want to deliver it to them, and that's one that they've been asking for a lot. So we got to figure out how to do it.
Alright, cool, thanks.
So we are over. I don't know how long we need to hang out here. We don't.
2 more questions, and sadly that's all the time we have.
Okay, you heard the man.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to ask how you go about balancing the combo in the next set, bar banning and restricting, what you do to the next set to compensate for competitive play.
The next step?
The next set, so if you're looking at cards, what you do to the next set to try and restrict it. Do you remove any cards, or do you limit what colours are being predominantly played?
To prevent combo decks from being too good?
Yeah, from...
In which formats?
In standard, sorry.
So I think where combo decks are right now in standard, which mostly is just the Jeskai Ascendancy combo that made the top 8 of the last Pro Tour, is in a really healthy spot. If you are not prepared for it, it can beat you, but if you don't want to lose to it, it's possible to sideboard enough cards, or just a few cards to make sure that it doesn't win. And it's not a huge, overwhelming force in the metagame. I think that's the right spot for combo in standard. And I'm not actually particularly worried about combo getting more prevalent. So we just kind of use our normal processes. We use Jeskai Ascendancy had potential to do something weird. It did, and I think we got fortunate that it ended up in just the right spot from where we wanted it to be in standard. Now in modern, it's really doing much crazier things that may or may not have to be addressed later. But I have no fear that our normal processes are going to have combo in the right spot going forward.
Thank you.
All right, last question. Make it a good one.
Does the colours of matter that you use define your personality, or does your personality define what
Yeah.
Because you've had things in the past where it's gone black matter sort of corrupts, but then again you've had things where it's green matter, I just like green.
So I think your personality dictates the colors of mana you use, especially early in your Magic playing career, kind of when you first put your first couple of decks together, or just getting your collection.
Ignore the law sort of thing.
What's that?
Ignore the law sort of way.
Oh, you don't mean real humans. All right, let me think about that one second.
While you think about that, so apologies to the people behind you that don't get a chance to answer a question, but if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that with them, that'd be great.
So a lot of times the colors of Magic that you're using, I believe, is not even a conscious choice. It's just that if you have an innate ability to wield certain kinds of magic, you can study other kinds of magic as well. But I guess I'm going to say that it is mostly your personality dictates what you were drawn to as types of magic. Interesting question. I'm probably not the best authority on that particular one, but I'll should send it to Doug Beyer on his Tumblr page. He'll have a much more eloquent and detailed answer than I can do there. It's a good question. All right.